building relationships with people and helping them solve their problems. And if I just stay with the basics, like keep it about that, it's building relationships with people and helping them solve their problems. And one of the things that I like to remember is like the relationships are what create the opportunities. The old days of always be selling, that's over, right? That wasn't relationship-based selling. That was transactional selling.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's relational. And there's a very big focus on that because people want to be cared about.
Hello there, prosperity seeker. Welcome to another episode of the Prosperity Approach. I'm your host, Allyson Chavez, and we have a very special guest today. I'm so excited to introduce her, and I'm so happy and grateful that you are tuning in, whether on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast listening platform. I'm sure appreciate your time. Before I introduce you to this absolutely amazing woman, just a couple of quick reminders. Sure would love it if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. And so you're notified every time we drop another episode. And if you are listening to this episode, make sure that you're listening on your favorite app. You can go over to AllysonChavez.com for fantastic resources that are going to help you change the way that you are looking at life, going to get you out of that struggle as you are launching yourself to higher and higher levels of success, regardless of what's going on in current circumstances. And we are always here for you. So thanks again for chiming in. So today, I am so excited to show off one of my friends, Nicole Cramer. Let me tell you just a little bit about her. She's a high vibe sales coach for female health and wellness entrepreneurs. She is the CEO of her multiple six-figure company, Healthy Steps with Nicole. And her team members and she are dedicated to its sole mission to make the world a healthier place through selling and serving. And we're going to have such an amazing conversation about that today. Nicole specializes in how to start conversations that lead to clients through her proven sales system. She actually used this process to generate a fully booked roster of private clients with a paid in full wait list. I haven't even had that experience before, so that's amazing. She is one of only 12 exactly what to say certified guides, making her a specialist in sales language and conversion. In her first 2 years in business, she multiplied her conversion rate by over 400% using those exact methods and continually teaches her clients how to do the same. Nicole's focus is on high touch relationship-based selling, where making the customer is more important than making the sale. And that is why I want to have this conversation with you today, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having me, Allyson. I'm super excited to be here.
You know, we're going to have such an amazing conversation about this because sales has such a bad reputation and people get triggered in the most interesting ways, both somebody being sold to and the person doing the selling. And I know I have had experiences on both sides of the table with that. I'm feeling icky as the person extending the offer, feeling manipulated as the one having the offer extended to. And so I really love the whole concept of relationship-based conversations and relationship sales, because that's what I believe in as well. Is it's not about what can I get from you? It's what can I give you? Can I help you close gaps? Does this even make sense for us to work together? Like, what can I do to help? And so I love that we're totally aligned in this conversation and the way that we approach sales. So let's talk about sales. How do you have more prosperous sales conversations and get more clients?
Such a good question. Well, it goes to what you just said, the difference between selling somebody something and helping them make a buying decision. As salespeople, I believe that we are professional mind maker-uppers. You're not there to sell somebody something because you don't necessarily know what they need, what they want. You're there to really be a consultant more than anything and help them uncover why they might need the thing. Because then what you're going to do is help walk them into making the buying decision. And I like to say it's us being less pushy and more pulley. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, come along with me if this feels aligned for you, if this feels right for you. And when you have quality conversations and you know the right things to say and the right questions to ask to help uncover those awarenesses for the other person, then they're able to really step into making that empowered buying decision versus feeling like you're trying to sell them something that they may or may not want.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. Totally agree. In fact, I remember when I had a really wonky relationship with sales, before I would get on a call, I would have this inner voice tell me, don't blow it. Mm-hmm.
right?
So it was all about, can I get him over the line? Can I get him over the line? And
Yep.
it came at such a high cost because I wasn't present with them. I was like, what's their objection going to be? What am I going to say to him? Oh my gosh, it was awful. It was awful for everyone. In fact, true confessions, I had somebody when I was early on in business and I was doing a sales conversation and she was like, why are you yelling at me?
No.
And I'm like, because you just got to change your life. I'm so passionate about this. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I am yelling at her. Holy cow. Clearly, she did not become a client. I would not have become a client either at that time.
Right.
But I think most people, myself included, one of the reasons why we hesitate with sales is that awful R word, rejection. How do you handle that and how do you navigate through that?
As a salesperson, and I say salesperson because we are all salespeople, right? Mm-hmm. We're all in the business of selling something, whether you're actually a business owner or not. You might need to sell your kids on making their bed. You might need to sell your partner on going to the new restaurant that you want to go to. Like, we're all selling something, right?
I love that you brought that up because we are in sales all the time.
All the time, and I'll share a real quick story that I think people always resonate with when I share this. I used to be a high school math teacher, Allyson. I think you know that. I did that for 15 years. And when I went to interview for my very first sales job that I did not get, by the way, I was so nervous because my resume just said teacher, and I'm thinking, how do you get a sales job without sales experience? Every job that I looked at said you needed sales experience to get it. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? A friend of mine got me the interview. He thought I'd be really great. He said, I'm going to get you an interview with my boss. I said, great. I go in with my resume that just says teacher, teacher, teacher all over it. And my biggest insecurity is this guy's going to say I don't have experience. We get to the end of the interview and the guy says, I got to be honest with you. You knocked this out of the park. I'm really impressed. So I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, but I'm going to have trouble hiring you over the 89 internal people who want this position because your resume just says teacher. And he literally held it up. It was almost like my dream in that moment, or my nightmare, I guess, came true. He held it up. He said, your resume just says teacher. And I said, well, I've sold high school math for 15 years and that wasn't an easy sell. And he goes, wow, that was good. He goes, will you go on a ride along with one of my guys? And I was like, yeah. So, I told you I didn't get the job, but I talked my way back into staying in the game, basically, right? I got another interview. I got another opportunity. And what I said in that moment, first of all, wasn't planned. Second of all, was not for him. And I didn't realize it until later. That was for me. God fed me that line. And I needed to hear that more than anything. Because that was the first time that I realized I've always been in sales. I'm just looking for another opportunity to do it in a different way. Right. But let me tell you, selling math to high school teenagers is not an easy sell. So when I realized I'd been doing it all along, I thought, I've already got it in me. I can figure this out. And that was the first real, I guess, breath of, I can do this. I believe in myself. So we are all in the business of selling something, regardless of what you're doing. And I think that's important to remember. And my two things with sales, what I learned early on, because I did then go on to get hired by another company and I did, become an official salesperson and was very successful. And what I realized is it's two things for me. Sales is building relationships with people and helping them solve their problems. And if I just stay with the basics, like keep it about that, it's building relationships with people and helping them solve their problems. And one of the things that I like to remember is like the relationships are what create the opportunities. Right. And so building relationships with people, this is like a slow it down to speed it up kind of thing. Like the old days of always be selling, that's over. Right. That wasn't relationship based selling. That was transactional selling. Mm-hmm. Now it's relational. And there's a very big focus on that because people want to be cared about. They want to feel seen and heard. They buy from people and they buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So the relationship being intact is the reason that the sale will eventually be made. And you might say, yeah, but like a brand like Tiffany's or Domino's Pizza, like they're not making relationships. Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah.
They're building relationships with everything that they do, with every piece of content that they put out, with their ads and their marketing. Like we're always building relationships with people. And as a business owner, as a coach, I know that those relationships many times start with one-on-one, starting conversations with people. And I think that that's where a lot of people miss out is like, in the world that we live in, the digital age, there's a lot of ways to reach a lot of people, but let's not forget how important it is to have that one-on-one conversation, to truly show somebody you're not just a number. I genuinely care about you. And those conversations are so, so important to create big opportunities in business. And we have to start there.
Well, and I think it's really important too to understand that there's lead time that needs to happen and there's nurturing that needs to happen, especially in this climate. We're going to talk about the climate right now because we need to. You and I had a long conversation about this climate before we even started recording. It was very cathartic and very,
very much. It was
very soothing to me. So thank you. It was quite healing. But within this climate, like there's a lot of fear that's going on, and we have to have this lead time. We have to nurture. It's not always the right perfect time. And so we have to be okay with different timeline for people. Like I, in the past, have launched pretty consistently. I've done online workshops and stuff very consistently for the last several years. And we've had people that have been part of those workshops 4 and 5 and 6 times before they were ready to actually like push the button and be like, yes, let's do this together. And so, but in the meantime, we're staying connected. We're fostering relationships. Are we perfect at it? No. Have people fallen through the cracks a little bit? Yes. Like we're human too, but we're really like, hey, how far have you come? Not to be like, well, you'd be so much farther if you just use my program, right. but like to be like, no, really, like how have you changed your life and how are things going and what can we do? And I think people are super skeptical about that as well, because they're like, what are you trying to sell me? I'm actually trying to sell you on your own brilliance. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to sell you. I'm trying to sell you connection here. And
by the way, I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm not selling you on me. I'm selling you on you. It has nothing to do with me. This is about you believing in yourself, because clearly you want it, or we wouldn't be in this conversation. Clearly there's something bigger for you that you believe is possible, or you wouldn't be dreaming about it and desiring it. And there's a little bit of resistance, and I totally honor and understand that there might be some fears there, but clearly you think that there's something bigger, and that's what I'm helping you remember. That's all I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Can we take this conversation in a little bit of a different direction? Because it just hit me. So I've talked to lots of people over the years that have been like, well, I invested in this person and I got burned, or I invested in this and then they didn't deliver, or I didn't get the results. And so I'm not doing any of this ever again. Has that ever happened to you as a consumer?
Where I was the one that got burned? I'm going to say no, because I choose to not be a victim in a situation and instead ask myself, have I always had the best of experiences with every investment that I've made? No. Have I learned from it? Have I known better moving forward? Yes. Did that mean that I was never going to invest in myself again? No, that's like burning a dinner and then saying, I'm never eating a dinner again because I burned it. Well, like, I'm still going to eat, right? And as a human, as a business owner, as a person, I'm going to continue investing in myself. And I'm not going to make it wrong or bad that it didn't work out for me. And I'm also never going to make the coach or the person or whatever it was that I invested in be the enemy. Like, it is what it is. What can I learn from this? You know, and that maybe comes from my days as a teacher too. Like, I don't ever really think that there were bad teachers. I think that there's a lot of people that we can learn a lot more from, maybe not subject matter wise, but experience wise. What are you learning from that person? So sure. I don't think that every investment that I've ever made has been the best, in terms of what I wanted it to create in my world. But I also just want to remember, like, I always have the power of choice, and I'm going to choose how I want to feel about this experience and what I learn from it.
I love that. I love that. And I appreciate that, because I too have had experiences. Well, every one of us has a betrayal story, whether it's in a personal relationship or a business relationship or like a client mentor relationship, regardless of which role you were playing. We all have a betrayal story, which can make us really gun shy to be like, do I do this again? And do I trust again? And I had to have the same kind of conversation with myself that you had, like, did I get value out of this? Did this investment actually lead me where I needed to go? Actually, yeah, it did. It wasn't the straight shot that I thought it was going to be. But boy, I picked up a whole lot more things along the way that have actually benefited me. And then also helped me to be more savvy in the future. I hired some people that had zero integrity that I didn't know. I mean, you'd think being intuitive that I would know they didn't have any integrity, but I didn't know, because I was running programs of I'm not enough. And if I hire you, maybe you'll make me enough. And I think this is where a lot of people get into trouble, because they make that person or they make that program or that coach or whatever their source. And then it's really easy to blame somebody else if we're running programs of I'm not enough because you didn't make me enough. And I thought that's what I was buying or, any of that. And this is all real subconscious things that are going on.
But that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
No different than any personal or romantic relationship that we've been in. Like, you get burned by one partner. Does that mean you're never going to be in a relationship again? Does that mean you're going to cut yourself off from the experience that you can have with a better fit, with the right fit? Just because it didn't work out with that person doesn't mean that it won't in the future. And what can you learn from that? And you said the word savvy, like it maybe made you a little bit more savvy and made you realize, oh, that's actually not the kind of person that I would want to date or be with. There's somebody better for me. The same thing can be true with an investment that you make in a coach or a program. Like, oh, I thought I saw it going in this way. It went in another way. What did I learn from it? And now I know that's not the right fit for me. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and to your point too, I really love that relationship comparison as well. And there are periods of healing we all have to go through. So if you had a horrific experience in a personal relationship, there are a lot of people that cut themselves off and say, I'm never going to do that again because there was quite a bit of trauma. And yet you can still heal from that. You can still learn from those things about, oh, I didn't stand up for myself here and I didn't have boundaries there. And not about you being at fault for that painful relationship, but also like, oh, where were some gaps in me? And, oh, I need to learn this skill about asking for what I want and holding my boundaries for the next one, because now I know. So, and there's that period of healing that we have to go through with different coaches that we've had, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all hurt. Yep. We all, some of us handle it in better ways than others. And some of us are better fits than others.
And there was a reason you were attracted to that experience to begin with. There was something in it that you couldn't have seen. Yes. There's always the universe always is looking out for us. And whether it was the experience that you thought it was going to be, or whether it was a little painful, there is something there that you were meant to have, meant to experience, meant to either point you in another direction, make you more of who you already were, whatever it is, there is something there for you. And I think understanding that and really leaning into that and believing that that's the experience that you were meant to have feels so much more empowering than, I use the word victim. It just feels very victim-y when you're like, this happened to me, or I invested in it, didn't work out and it was her fault. It's like, I just don't feel the power in that. There's not. And it's like, I want to walk away feeling empowered. Like, what can I learn from this?
Oh my gosh. I love that. That was God that just answered through you that said, I don't feel the power in that.
Yeah.
I don't feel the power in that. All right. So let's talk again about like rejection. I think that's one of the reasons why people hate sales is that they hate feeling rejected. So how do you have a whole thing you do that helps with the rejection. So let's talk about that.
Well, because that's a real thing, right? I mean, I'm a sales coach. I cannot do what I do without rejection being a part of what I teach and what I share with my clients, because I mean, I've been in sales long enough to know now we don't do this without rejection. Like it's just, I wish I could take rejection away from everybody, but I can't. And I kind of don't wish, because I think to our point with everything else we're talking about, you learn so much in that.
Yes.
You learn so much. It's got to burn sometimes. You talked earlier about getting on a sales call and almost like you didn't use this word, but this is what the word that I use when people talk about sales calls like that, where they're like so eager and they want to sell somebody something. It's almost like you're auditioning.
Yes.
Right?
It's
like
awful.
Pick me. I hope you'll choose me. And that makes the rejection sting even more, because you're making it about you.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to take that personal when you've made it about like, pick me. I hope they pick me. Well, you don't need anybody. You can absolutely be excited about a conversation that could lead to a great opportunity. You can desire the outcome being what it is. You just can't be attached to it, and you can't make it mean anything about you, or else rejection is actually going to work against you. And rejection doesn't have to mean anything about you, what you offer, the value of your offer, because it doesn't mean anything about that. More often than not, when somebody rejects what you are offering or what you're sharing with them, it has everything to do with them. Mm-hmm. And their unwillingness to, or their fear, or their whatever it is. Or, you know what, sometimes it's just not the right fit. And sometimes we need to be really grateful that the rejection is there, because you've probably dodged a bullet.
Yes.
Right? Like there's sometimes where it's like, I'm so glad that didn't work out. Like, But like
Uh-huh.
you wanted the client, you wanted the money. Like I get all of that. We're business owners. We need to make money in order to keep going. We need to have clients in order to, like that's our big goal is to help
Mhm.
people. But sometimes it's not meant to be the person that you're helping. And so rejection isn't a bad thing. It's not good. It just is. It's neutral, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And you can learn from it. You can walk away. I like to do the LBs and the NTs. What did I like best? What will I do next time? Right? The LB is
Mhm.
the like best. The NT is the next time. Not making it anything about you, not making yourself wrong. It's just, okay, that didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go or had hoped that it would go. What can I learn from this? And that's a big piece of what I teach in my programs with my clients is sales conversations and how can you improve them? Because a lot of times it's not even that the person didn't want it. It's not that they didn't see the value. It's that they weren't able to make a decision because, well, let me put it this way. Most people have already made the decision. They have not given themselves permission to make it. Big difference.
Mm.
They're not in a conversation with you because they don't want what you have. Nobody has extra time in the day to just kill it with, hey, let me just jump on a call with this person and just see what it's all about, right? They're getting in a conversation with you because they legit are interested in what you have. And so it's really helpful to remember they've pretty much decided that they want to do something about whatever the pain point is that they're experiencing. Your job is to help them make the decision, help them give themselves permission to make that decision. And a lot of times that just comes down to our conversations and what we're saying and how we're using the words that can help somebody make a decision. And the words that I teach, the phrases that I teach, I call them magic words. I'm an officially certified exactly what to say guide, which means I've got this, toolkit of all these phrases. And the reason I call them magic phrases is they speak directly to the subconscious part of a person's brain. The subconscious part of a person's brain doesn't have a maybe output. It only has yes or no. So what we want to do as salespeople is not fear rejection, not worry about rejection, but think about how can I help this person make a decision? How can I use my words to not tell them what to do? Nobody wants to be told what to do. Help them realize it for themselves. And there's so much power in the words that you use, not just for you to hear what the other person's answers are, but for them to hear what their answers are.
Mhm.
And it's not as much about getting them to a yes as it is destroying the option of no. When you ask them the right questions and you have a conversation that's helping move the needle and helping them see things, it's almost like, oh, why would I want to stay there? This seems silly that I'm in a conversation talking about all the things that are wrong, all the things that I don't want in my life anymore, but now I'm going to choose to stay there. And when you know how to have quality conversations and make more of an impact with the words that you're using and help that person by talking to their subconscious and helping them have those yes and no decisions, then you're able to help them realize that for themselves, just with the power of your
Mhm.
words.
Mm. I love that. Holy cow. I'm imagining that's what you teach your clients. Are
It
those
is.
magic words?
It is. Yeah, there's a lot of magic words. And one of the things that I'll share with everybody who's listening is there's a reason that the magic words work, besides just the fact that they speak to the subconscious. And I'll briefly cover 4 cornerstones of conversational excellence. That's almost like the math teacher in me always wants to explain it like this because I would never have just given somebody a formula and said, here you go use the formula. I'm going to teach you why it works so that you're plugging the right numbers in the right places so that you understand what the output is. And if the output isn't right, you know in the formula where it went wrong. Otherwise, it's just a formula that doesn't mean anything to you.
Mhm.
Same thing with these phrases. The phrases are powerful, but let's understand why they work. Okay. First of all, the first of the 4 cornerstones is the worst time to think about what you're going to say is the moment you're going to say it. And so many people have block templates for their emails that go out. They've got email sequences that they've put thought and time and intention into, right? They've got social media posts that they've crafted and curated over time. And, they've put so much thought into it. But when it comes to the words that come out of our mouth, we're just hoping we say the right thing at the right time. And we're getting in these sales conversations and we're kind of like being really irresponsible about it. I don't love the word irresponsible, but we are because it's like you've got thousands and thousands of dollars riding on some of these conversations. Why would you not put a little bit of preparation, a little bit of thought into the conversation ahead of time? For example, I like to say, you should never lose to an objection you knew you were going to get. Let's be real here. What are the 3 objections we probably hear more than anything else? Time, money, and another person needs to be part of the decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not get on that conversation and go, oh God, she's using the time objection. What do I do? Well, it's not the first time you've heard it. Did you think ahead that it might come up? And did you craft some questions and some ways to handle it so that when it does come up, you have a way to have a conversation around it instead of, this goes back to the power thing, right? Are you just going to give all your power away to the objection? Or are you going to think about it ahead of time? You know what the common objections are that you hear. And everybody hears different variations of it, but I would say those are probably the top three: time, money, and another person, right?
Yep, they are.
Depending on what you sell, you might hear different variations of that, but those are the three. So don't wait until the moment that the objection comes up to decide, ooh, what do I say now? Because most people, you know what they do? The objection comes up, they're like, oh yeah, I get it. You can't afford it. No big deal. Well, listen, you know where I am. And if things ever change, feel free to reach out. Passive, ooh, ooh, ooh. You're not serving that person. You're not serving you. You're not serving them. Your job is to push a little bit and help them get a little bit uncomfortable. Not, oh, no big deal. So we need to put time and intention ahead of time into these conversations and not wait until the moment something's said to decide how we're going to say it. So planning ahead, really important, right? Mm-hmm. The second of the cornerstones, one of my absolute favorites, is lead with curiosity. Curiosity is the only tool that you have to show somebody that you care. And nobody wants to be told what to do. And when you come in with certainty, telling somebody what to do, it creates sales friction. It is such a turnoff. Nobody wants to be told what to do. But when you can help somebody uncover the reasons why they might want to do the thing by staying curious, you're helping them arrive at that decision. You're helping them recognize, I'll ask sometimes on sales conversations, I'll say wow, well, this really sounds like something that you don't want to be dealing with anymore. What would make you want to stay there? Let's just eliminate the idea that you want to stay there at all. And they're like, I don't want to be there at all. So it sounds like you really want to do something about this. I do. Okay. We've got a micro commitment, right? We've got an opportunity now to see that you don't want to stay there. And now we're going to talk about ways that can get you out of there. And so staying curious and asking good questions and uncovering that is so, so important. And what that leads you to is the third cornerstone. Curiosity gives you the certainty to then become relatable and build empathy. Empathy is how you actually put yourself in somebody else's shoes, understand where they're coming from. And here's a really, for me, a great way to say this. People will only do things for their reasons, not yours. And if you're not taking the time to build empathy and to understand what their reasons are, then you can't make a sale. They're not going to buy from you because you want them to. They're going to buy from you because they want them to.
Yeah.
The right English, but they want to. And you've got to uncover that through curiosity and building empathy. And one of my favorite definitions of empathy is by a man named John Acuff. Empathy is caring about what the people you care about care about. You've got to care about what your people care about, right? Otherwise, you're making it about you and you're not really understanding why they would want to make this decision. Everybody listens to the same radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? So help them understand why they want to make this decision. And then the fourth cornerstone is the person in control of the conversation is the person asking the questions. So a couple of things on this. First of all, this goes back to cornerstone number 1, prepare ahead for the conversation. Make a list of questions. Right? I teach my clients to do a pre-call planner, to actually write some things down ahead of the conversation you're going to get in so that you understand, what do I know about this person already? What do I know about their situation? And what questions do I want to be prepared to ask so that I can help guide this conversation? I can help move the needle because that's in service to both, right? In order to be respectful to both parties, it is a business call. It is a business conversation. So you want to show up prepared, able to guide the conversation in a way that gets to a decision. And when I say decision, that's a yes or no. That's not always a yes. Like we talked about earlier, you don't always want a yes from every person. Yeah. Part of your job is to discover, is this person the right fit for me? Not audition. I hope they pick me, but is this the right fit for both of us? And so cornerstone number 4 is, first of all, have some questions prepared that you want to ask. But also, here's the thing about it. If you've taken the time to stay curious, and you've built empathy and you understand the other person's point of view, then you have the courage to ask some of the tough questions. People don't like being pushy on sales calls. Well, it's not pushy. It comes from a place of curiosity. It's like, well, you just spent 20 minutes telling me how bad all this stuff is that you don't want to deal with anymore. I'm confused why you would want to stay where you are. Yeah. That's just you staying curious and asking questions to say, I'm confused, right? And a lot of times people are like, but what do I say? What's the right thing to say? There's no perfect thing to say that's always going to fit. It's not a game of pairs. Like when somebody says this, say this. The perfect thing to say comes from you staying curious.
Yeah.
And really trying to understand, gosh, we've just spent 20 minutes talking about your situation and how you don't want to be there anymore. And it sounds pretty bad to me. What is it that would make you want to stay there? Like if they're choosing to stay stuck, what is it that makes you want to stay there? Right. And sometimes they're going to say, well, because I'm just afraid to do anything else. As long as they are in reality with why they're making the decision and why they're saying no, that's still a win in my book, right?
Yeah.
And that's not somebody that I necessarily want to work with anyways. Like if you're that willing to just give up and stay where you at, you're probably not going to be the best fit to do the work that we would need to do. So those are the four cornerstones, right? Think ahead before you're going to have the conversation. What is it that I want to be prepared for? Stay curious, build empathy, and then have some good questions to ask. And then if you stay curious and build empathy, you'll have the courage to ask some of those tougher questions and push somebody a little bit because they do need to be pushed and they want to.
Yeah, they do. And they do. They want to be. Oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing conversation. It's gone so fast. So Nicole, how can people find you? And what have you got for us today?
Thank you. Yeah. So I have a training called 33 Places to Find Clients. And I will tell you, no matter what level you're at of business owner, I have given this to so many people and they're like, oh my God, it gave me so many great ideas. So it literally was, I sat down and brainstormed a list of 33 places, really powerful, really helpful, uncover areas that you're probably not already thinking of. So that is my gift for everybody. Please download it, watch it. It will absolutely help you. And then I would love to connect with anybody who's listening. I am on Instagram at the Nicole Cramer. I am also on Facebook. My name is Nicole Cramer on Facebook. So please search me, find me, connect with me. And then I also have a podcast that has an amazing episode that Allyson and I did. There's many episodes on there, but definitely go listen to the one that Allyson and I did all about prosperity. And would love to hear from anybody who wants to connect.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us, Nicole. Thank you. You are absolutely amazing. Everybody knows now why I wanted you on because you are just spectacular. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for tuning in. And remember, prosperity becomes you. Bye-bye.